Got to get it in. Does to Smith. Jabari for three and the win. Yeah! He got it!
Here to Fuel Rockets News. It's the Rock Field podcast presented by Believe Network and sponsored by Bet Online. Of course, I'm your host, LaShard Binkley. As you see, I'm out in the car. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get this podcast out right now is because we just got the big news about Reed Sheppard. So we'll definitely be talking about that. We'll talk a little bit about last night's game. Big, huge Rockets win 119-115 over the Los Angeles Lakers. That moved them to 23-12 and kept them in second place in the Western Conference before they head out on a three-game road trip coming up, starting with a game against the Washington Wizards on tomorrow. But of course, the big news was the Houston Rockets win over the Los Angeles Lakers 119-115. I was out at Toyota Center yesterday to watch the game, and the Rockets got into a huge lead, a 22-point lead, before inevitably, no big surprise, the Lakers came back and made a game of it to where it came down to the last few seconds. The Lakers had a chance to tie. It was 118-115, but Fred VanVleet stepped in front of LeBron James and stole the ball, even though J.J. Redick and the Lakers claimed that LeBron had called a timeout or LeBron had been fouled. The refs didn't see the foul call. We'll see what they say in the last 2-minute report. Not that it really matters. As we know, as Rockets fans, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But Fred VanVleet were able to come away with the steal. The Rockets were missing free throws again at the end of the game to where it made it a lot closer than it should have been. The Lakers had another chance. They were down down by 4 points. They had another chance. LeBron James got the ball, made the three, but they called an offensive foul on Anthony Davis, who pushed down, or at least what the refs say, pushed down Tate at the end of the game, or actually Aaron Holiday at the end of the game. That negated LeBron James' three. If they would have called the other way, it could have possibly been a 4-point play. But in the day, that's the way it goes. The Rockets have been on the wrong side of plenty of bad calls this season, so I don't think any Rockets fans are going to be crying for the Lakers. At the end of the day, the Rockets were able to come away with the 119-115 victory. And it was three players really that stood out while the Rockets won that game. And then it started with Jalen Green, who had 18 points in the first quarter. He was 7 of 8, probably the best game I've seen, at least offensively, from Jalen Green, especially to start the game. I mean, he came out on fire. He couldn't miss. He was, it didn't matter what the Lakers were throwing at him in that first quarter. He was making layups. He was making mid-range shots. He was making step-back threes. He was making everything. And then the Lakers kind of adjusted, started sending traps his way, double teams, sort of like what we've been seeing teams do against alperensengun all year. They were doing that against Jalen, and the good thing about Jalen was he didn't force it. He had 0 turnovers last night, which is huge for the amount of times that he was trapped last night. So that was a big development. He still was able to come away with 33 points, even though he was trapped for much of the last 3 quarters, and still found a way to get in the right positions, still found a way to get to the basket, and found a way to help out his teammates in the process. And he finished with 33 points. Said a huge reason why the Rockets were able to come away with that victory. Another player that was a big reason why they came away with that victory was Steven Adams. Steven Adams it's been a slow kind of progress for Steven Adams this year. Keep in mind, he hasn't, up until this year, he hadn't played in a year and a half. He missed half of the 22-23 season with Memphis. He missed all of last year with that knee injury with the Memphis Grizzlies, and then with the Rockets when they traded for him. And it may have said all year that they're going to slowly try to get him back into playing shape. And it looks like these last few games, especially, he's really finally getting back to pre-injury Steven Adams. He may not ever be the player that he used to be because, I mean, he is in his 30s, and a knee injury is difficult for anybody to come back from, especially a center in his 30s. But he is looking a lot more like the player the Rockets hoped that he would be when they traded for. And that's why I actually asked Ime that question. Is this the type of game when y'all made the trade that y'all thought y'all would get from Steven Adams? And this is what he said. About when you made that trade?
Yeah, so he's been his whole career. You're understanding that it's going to take some time with 2 years off and the injuries coming off of, but that's why we're giving him the minutes regardless of the outcome out there. He needs to get his legs back under him, get his rhythm back, and when he does, he's been this throughout his whole career. That's what his career arc looks like. Offensive rebounder, great one. But not only that, he holds 3-4 guys off and allows others to clean up as well. So that's great there. And then just a deterrent at the rim in the paint. Not going to block a lot.
And from the start, anytime anybody brought up Steven Adams, M.A., who normally doesn't smile, actually smiled, gave a little grin pretty much the first few times his name was mentioned when he was traded for. And you can see why. I mean, last night was a perfect example. He had a season high 8 points, season high 9 rebounds. He led the team in plus minus as well. His best game of his Rockets career. And it's not just the 9 rebounds. It's also the fact that even the rebounds he doesn't get to, he's holding up 2 or 3 guys are trying to box him out, which gives other guys chances to get rebounds, like an Amenthompson, who had a career high 16 rebounds last night. Also, it's the fact that he is a deterrent when, even though like you may say, he's not going to block a lot of shots, but people are going to hesitate when Steven Adams is in paint. They're not just going to be like, hey, nothing against anybody else as far as their centers or power forward concerned, but when anybody else is in the paint for the Rockets, usually teams are not going to hesitate by going into the paint. But Steven Adams, they absolutely do. And you can tell that anytime he's in the game, teams are less likely to continue to try to drive to the basket, less likely to try to crash the boards, because they know that normally if Steven Adams on there, they're not going to be able to move him. And that is a huge deal, even if he's only playing 15 to 17 minutes a game. That is a big deal, especially when you're going against the bigger teams in the NBA, like a Lakers with Anthony Davis, or a Denver team with Jokic, or a Minnesota team with Gobert and Naj Reed. People like that, you want to have Steven Adams as healthy as he can. And he actually talked about that as well last night. He said that his knee is back to normal, which is a great sign for the Houston Rockets. He said he's feeling a lot more like himself. And you can tell from his play on the court last night that he's definitely getting back to pre-injury Steven Adams. And another player that definitely stood out was Amenthompson, who, like I mentioned earlier, had a career high 16 rebounds. He had a season high 23 points. And you can tell that he wanted to make up for the 2-game suspension. He said he had watched, of course, both games, and he was just ready to get back out there. And you saw it last night. I mean, he was all over the court. On top of, he was the primary defender on LeBron James. Even though LeBron James did what LeBron James does to everybody, he still made it extremely difficult for LeBron James. And a lot of times they were trying to pick off Amenthompson because he was playing such good defense. But to be able to play that type of defense and still go out there and give a career high in rebounds and then 23 points and do all the little things that the Rockets need when he's on the court. And also, as M.A. talked about pregame, he said that, kind of the difference is, of course, he doesn't give you the shooting that Jabari gives, but he does so many other things that make up for it that, it was almost another time where he almost cracked a smile again when he talked about Amenthompson having him on the court. It just made such a huge difference, especially with Jabari out, having a guy that can push the pace, another ball handler. You saw his athleticism on a missed free throw. He was able to get his own rebound and put it back. You saw it when Jalen shot up, and he said it was a pass, but we know he shot the air ball, and Amen was able to get the putback before anybody could even get off the ground. I mean, Amenthompson is on his way to being an all-star, and if it wasn't for Victor Wembanyama, probably a defensive player of the year, he'll definitely be all NBA defense at some point in his career, maybe sooner rather than later. I mean, Amenthompson, he's given him everything and more than what people expected from him. And he's a big reason why the Rockets were able to pull away. He's a big reason why the Rockets are second in the West right now. So Amenthompson definitely had a huge game last night. And one thing I want to talk about before I wrap this up is, of course, the big news that came out about Reed Sheppard. The Rockets earlier today reported that they had sent down Reed Sheppard to the G League and brought up Nate Williams. A lot of people and myself, I've asked M.A. a few times if it was more beneficial for Reed to be down in the G League. And typical M.A. fashion, you're not really going to give away too much. But we finally saw him get sent down to G League. He probably would have been sent down earlier if Amen hadn't been suspended. But with Amen back now, they finally sent Reed Sheppard down. And I think it's best for him, it's best for the Rockets, because 3 of the last 4 games he had DNPs, he hadn't played. He only played a few minutes against Boston, and that's just because it was a blowout. And now he has a chance. I watch a lot of G League basketball, and I watch a lot of Vipers basketball. Now he's going to have a chance to go down there, get as many shots up as he wants, handle as many minutes as he wants, the primary ball handler. And it's really not about the points or assists that he puts up, or his final numbers, because at the end of the day he's going against guys that a lot of them not even going to be in the league. So you really don't want to look at the numbers. You want to look at how confident he is taking a shot. You want to look at how well he's able to run the offense. You want to look at the stuff beyond the box scores, because that's what he needs confidence right now, because he's lacking confidence. A lot of what is going on with him is mental. He's 2 for his last 16 from 3-point range, only shooting 28% from 3 on the season. So this is a great opportunity for him to be able to get his confidence up. We saw that last year, even though a reason Thompson went down last year because he was recovering from injury, but it was still good for him to go down there and be able to play as many minutes as he needs to get back in game shape. Of course, we saw Cam Whitmore last year. We saw Cam Whitmore this year play in the G League. So, and able to go down there and get as many shots up as he needs to build up his confidence. So we'll be able to see that tomorrow. I got a message from the Vipers saying that he will be available for tomorrow's game. So we should see him when the Vipers take on Oklahoma City Blue, the Thunder's G League team, tomorrow. At home, as the Vipers be playing the next couple of games at home. So hopefully I'll have a chance to talk to him after the game. We'll see. Hopefully, if I do, of course, I'll have that interview up here on the YouTube channel. And if you're not subscribed, welcome to the channel. This is your first time checking us out. And as you go to the channel, you'll see we have all types of things, not just interviews, not just podcasts. We have highlights. We have pretty much everything that you can think of on this channel. Please like this video, and as usual, we appreciate the support, and make sure you check out the next episode of Rockets Fuel Podcast.